Hello everyone. This is our question number 3 in the series of discussion of the previous year's questions of ethics UPSC CSC. Already we have discussed two questions and let's move toward the question number 3 from the year 2013. The question is like this. Yes. Some people feel that values keep changing with time and situation, while others strongly believe that there are certain universal and eternal human values. Give your perception in this regard with due justification. It's mean that the question is all about values and there are some values which keep changing with time and situation, and there are some other values which are universal and eternal in nature. So the question asks us that we have to describe that how some values change with time. It's mean they are relative, and how some values are universal. They are eternal to the human nature. They will not change. They are so sacred that they are beyond time and space. So we have to put some light on this question. Let's move to the answer. So there are some values which are relative and some other values are absolute. So what are absolute values? Absolute values, they are the universal values. For example, the truth, gratitude, peace, non-violence and sympathy, etc. They are considered the values which are beyond time and space. Today we are living in 2020, even in the 2050, even in the 3050, these values will always be appreciated. Always the truth, the gratitude for others, the peace, non-violence and sympathy, these values will be appreciated and people will be motivated to imbibe all these values because these are the core values and they are very fundamental. They do not change and they remain stable. So these set of values appreciated and accepted in all the society just vary in the degree. There are some society which accept these values in their highest possibility. They have their ethical code of conduct that you should be truthful, you must have gratitude towards your parents, towards your teachers, you have to be non-violent, you must have sympathy for the poor. So we find yet all these values are appreciated, but the level of acceptance of these values by every society is a little different. It's vary from person to person and society to society. For example, murder is a crime in every society and it is a universal norm. You will never get reward for committing a crime. So, there is another human value which is very eternal, which is very universal, that is human dignity. When we do the study of ethics, so there are multiple branches of ethics: meta ethics, normative ethics, so bioethics, environmental ethics. So the purpose of all these ethics, we want to go into investigation, we want to formulate some rules, regulations, standards, laws, so that always human dignity remain intact. The happiness of human beings, of human societies, this entire world is the end goal of ethics. Relative values, now we will move toward the relative values. We have done with the universal or absolute values which are beyond time and space, but these relative values, they are not beyond time and space. As the time changes, as the circumstances changes, the preference for the values will also change. Relative values are based on individual, they are based on societal standards, their like, their dislike, their social norms and their own traditions. For example, if we give the example of Indian society, so we find a value Vasudeva Kutumbakam. It's mean that let's treat the entire world as your family. That's why we have this value also, Atithi Devo Bhava. Because we consider the entire world as a family. And whenever a different person from a different country comes into our country, comes into our home, we say Atithi Devo Bhava. Guests are always welcome. So, Atithi means guest, Devo it means God. It means the guest is like your God. Treat them as that feeling. So there is another value which is appreciated, universal brotherhood and the tolerance. So all these values which are appreciated so much, accepted by the Indian society, but we don't find all these values in the Western society. We find that in the Western societies, the values of individualism and utilitarianism is very high. There's so much feeling of individualism and this utilitarianism that people are busy in their own concern. They are busy in their own ventures. They don't appreciate all these feelings like Vasudeva Kutumbakam and universal brotherhood. So we find a contradiction between the societies. We can say some values are preferred in one place, while the same values may not be preferred in other place, in other society, in another country. The next is values evolve to bring order in the society and culture specific. And even the values evolve along with the cultures. The present generation of Indian society is more ambitious, more assertive, and they have not imbibed this feeling of having sacrifice, giving sacrifice, or being selflessness. No. Now people are becoming more selfish. They have just to do with their own business. They don't believe in sacrificing your life for other purpose. We are talking in general. So we can say that values are not intact. They also evolve with time. There are some values also which evolve with time. They are not sacred or sacrosanct that they will always remain the same and no one can change them. So we find that in Indian society where this feeling of collectivity is very high. It's mean in collectivity. It's mean the family as a unit, society as a unit will decide for an individual what is good, what is bad for him. The family as a unit or society as a unit will take decisions for you. To which girl you will marry, to which school you will go, to which college you will go, and which profession you will choose. Because individualism is not so high in Indian society till yet. But now we are finding it that no, it's evolving. This feeling of being an individual capable of taking decision for their own life, this feeling is imbibed by the people now, and we find that earlier where there were nuclear family, there were the joint families. Now there is a trend of rising the nuclear family, and now there is more acceptance of live-in relationships, the more acceptance of LGBT community. So we find that values can be either universal and they can be relative or dynamic, which keep changing with time. Why? To meet the needs of the people who are living in the society. So this is the question we have discussed. Now we will go toward a more academic answer. Here we have given enough example, but to make it more clarify, let's go here. That values are the yardstick which help to judge the things we see around us. Yes, we already have a lens through which we see the world. This lens is of values which we have already imbibed. Moral principles and ethical standards, every society have different, and all these different moral principles and ethical standards meet the need of their own society. Similar way, society also have their own values. Some values are universal, some are not. Every society and individual set different set of values for himself. Yes, we have seen the Western and the Indian society. Some values are more appreciated and some are not, to a varying degree. So it is irrational to say that values are eternal or universal. Our life goal have a tendency to change with time and circumstances. So as our goals change, as our purpose change, to achieve that goal, to achieve that purpose, our values also change. Earlier, when we were in our school life, we were not in that time in a competitive exam, so we were not so disciplined, we were not so much conscious about the time. I think we were not even aware about the time management. But when we are in the field of the competitive exams, we have this one particular value that we should give value to the time. So as our purpose, our goal change in life, our values to achieve that goal also changes. The next is, on the other hand, there exist certain values that are universally upheld. Yes, we have done that. The truthfulness, the non-violence, being peaceful, they will always be appreciated. And there are some values which are universally upheld, like human life and its dignity. So as a conclusion, we can say that we cannot put values in a watertight compartment. It means there is no hard and fast rule that values are this and values are that. It depends upon the situation, circumstances, the type of society you are, the type of individual you are, the kind of social upbringing, the kind of family to which you belong. So your values, the prism that you have in front of your eyes to see this entire world, it depends upon the lots of things. So no watertight compartment division of values, no hard and fast rule to divide values. The acceptance of a value, it might be universally valid or it may be vary according to the time and need of the society. So the main purpose of the values to guide the human behavior towards the ultimate happiness. Thus the nature of values adapt with time to ensure that aim of the human society of being happy, being satisfied, being content, being peaceful is achieved. So this is all our answer that we finally have discussed about values which are beyond space and time and values which keep changing with time. And we have enough example of this. I hope you understand it. Thank you guys. Have a nice time.